All right, 3, 2, 1. Episode 3, take 2. All right, welcome to Quantum Kinetics First Diffusion, Episode 3. I'm here with
Randal Bird, the COO and president of Quantum Kinetics Corporation.
All right, so what are we going to be talking about today, Randal?
Well, before we get into that, McKane, I got a couple of things I wanted to point out and celebrate, okay? So we did do some surveys, and we had some responses, and in those, we found in our likes, in our previous episodes, we're running about 92 to 93% people approving and really kind of digging what we're doing here.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody. I just want to say we're delighted to do it. We're going to continue to do it. And there's everything to look forward to in the next few after this as well. We've got some special stuff coming up. But we've got episode 3 to do today. And how about that? So we ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, Randal. So go ahead and fire it up for us. What's our first topic?
Okay, so when we got some of those initial responses, we dove into some of this and we decided, you and I and the team, to go ahead and hit this a little bit harder. So what we want to ask now is, how does fusion change the world? It's a dynamic question because it's broad and yet it's specific. And so we want to take a moment, look at it from a more global, holistic point of view. And then why don't we take a moment after that and break down some of those specific pieces?
Perfect. So to put this into a contextual understanding, because some people on the internet are saying like, well, that's great. You're making these pretty little graphs of like emission spectrums. What's it useful for, right? And this is like analogous to like essentially if I was a caveman and I came to you with a wheel, I chiseled a wheel, and I said, look, it's a wheel, dude. And you're like, I don't know what a wheel is. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. And so essentially this is nuclear fusion is not just for making energy. It's actually for all industries. Like, for example, the wheel revolutionized transportation.
Yes.
It revolutionized how we can land a plane on a tarmac. You know, like all these elements that you can use cold nuclear fusion for, that's what it does.
Yeah.
So it's hard for people when they see it to go, well, what am I looking at? As a matter of fact, we've had investor people look at this and go, what am I looking at?
Right. So that breakdown takes a little bit of, how do I make it relatable to somebody, to say to the common person? Because we kind of targeted this initially, I thought, towards more the science community. We were trying to win some validity here. We have found that we know we have validity. Why do we need to continue to pursue it in that vein? But yet we still need to answer the hard questions. So dive in right now and kind of tear off that next layer of the onion for us. Tell us a little bit about the specifics of fusion in a different way that we haven't covered in the previous episodes.
Yeah. So nuclear fusion that's safe, like safe cold nuclear fusion, it's kind of like it can revolutionize your microwave oven. It can revolutionize the way your car runs. It can revolutionize transportation. And it can also introduce new technologies and new industries like radioactive waste remediation. And on top of that, it can also do like, I don't know, water filtration systems and getting rid of forever chemicals and uranium. Like, the implications, like we said before, are limited only to your imagination that you put it to work. And so what I'm saying is that every single existing industry that we have on planet Earth right now can be influenced and touched in a positive way with safe, cold nuclear fusion using the arc reactor fusion on demand.
Okay, so take us into a little bit on one of the applications, and we'll take a few examples, okay? Sure. So let's do clean transportation. We've talked about the reusableness of this and how we can recycle some of that energy to do good. Dig into this a little bit. So now I'm a builder. I'm a potential manufacturer of some of this. I want to get excited. Get me excited by this.
Okay, great. So essentially, we can turn vehicles, transportation units, that don't just spew out CO2 exhaust, they spew out water mist, but they still drive you down the road. A nuclear fusion vehicle uses water as the fuel source, which is basically what? H2O, right? That's water, 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. And if you split them apart and put them inside an engine, it will detonate. And here's another thing about nuclear safe fusion is that in this process, though hard to believe, it doesn't make just hydrogen 2 parts hydrogen and 1 part oxygen. It potentially and does make lots of hydrogen. So your ratio is a lot more hydrogen to the oxygen so that you don't have to do any funky, weird timing changes to the we're in top dead center and all that stuff. You're introducing hydrogen in a very concentrated amount,
Wow.
which when it blows up, it's clean exhaust.
So that's, I believe, it blows up.
It blows up in the engine, of course.
Right. So no, we would call that.
A detonation.
Yeah, I think I like that a little bit better than blows up. So,
Sorry, I actually the reason I say that is because they're getting a lot of comments saying like, "Can you dumb it down for us a little bit?"
Yeah,
I'm trying to do that.
I know, and at the same time, we need to make it relatable and dive into the depth that makes it meaningful too, because we can just say things. Are we saying things that mean anything? So, in that breakdown, in that detonation, and so 2 questions. One, is it molecular manipulation, atomic manipulation that causes this to create detonation? And also, what is the byproduct? Because the one thing I know that I asked when I became an investor and then involved in this is I did not want to simply turn around and find a new way to pollute the planet. So relieve me of those concerns.
The input electricity that is needed to make this process begin is so low that the carbon footprint of the electricity to do it is super low, and so you're not really making much of a pollutional effect for the amount of hydrogen and oxygen clean energy you're getting from the water. And the water splits, the hydrogen comes with it, the extra hydrogen comes with it into the engine, thus cleaning the environment. So the engine, the car becomes an air filtration system as you're going to get groceries. Can you imagine like your vehicle? He's running a fusion up Mr. Fusion reactor like the DeLorean, but you're running water mist out the engine and it's cleaning the atmosphere, scrubbing the atmosphere.
Okay, so there's a bit of a reach for people to say, but how? That still is kind of the thing. They're not going to get on board if you're just telling them, I know we can't give away the secret sauce, but we can tell a little bit deeper, can we not?
So if the reactor that if you put the arc reactor fusion on demand inside water, like if you dunk it in the water and you turn it on, the amount of hydrogen that's produced from this thing is enormous. And the amount of energy you have to put in to stimulate it is very low, lower than electrolysis, lower than, membrane electrolysis and all that. The amount of power you get back is more than you would put in to the system in the special electronics.
The over unity we talked about previously.
Correct. And on top of that, you also get photon radiation with it, with those X-rays. And the X-rays that are being pulsed into the water, that actually splits the water too. There's actually a really great video, and I don't think we have the rights to show it, but there's scientists that are taking a stream of water, like from a faucet, and they have a really powerful X-ray gun, and they shoot X-rays at the water that's streaming down, and it just splits it, like Moses splitting the Red Sea. So X-rays that this produces, that's in the water, splits the water.
Yeah, and the speed at which that happens causes propulsion because these detonations are cycled. And so this is a viable solution to transportation. So, I really am excited for the future of what just that alone can do. Think about the number of ways we need to get about, right?
Yeah.
And anything you can do to change, reducing, better yet, eliminating most of the pollution is a win for humankind.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go on a little bit further. So we've also talked about the change to what would be considered the grid and home heating. They're 2 separate things, but let's take them one at a time. Home heating. So we can design or have some ideas about concepts and have even put some stuff down.
Right.
Take us through a little bit about what home heating looks like later in the 21st century or even later in this decade if we get going fast enough.
Yeah. If we get enough funding and we get enough backing behind us, we can implement these technologies like home heating that is efficient and it's almost like instant heating. You know, an instant water heater.
Hmm.
It pulls like 1,000 watts. I mean, it pulls a lot of power to get the water to instantaneously heat. But in our unique electronic processes, we can actually heat water with like very minimal, like 100 watts, 150 watts to get 200 or 2,500 watts of watt heat energy into the water to heat it up. So these are possibilities, and they've been done, but they need to be designed for one, higher safety factors for industry, because you have to be safe, really safe.
Yeah,
Because it is fusion after all. I mean, it's pretty powerful stuff.
it definitely is.
You have to have it be retrofittable to every household in America, which there are regulations for that. You have to have the right stuff. You got to do it right. You got to have people, design it and then retrofit it actually into your home. You have to have a crew come in and do that. You got to pay them to do that too.
Sure. So they have, for example, in the Southwest, water softeners, reverse osmosis units, things like that.
Mhm.
This would just be simply an add-on similar to that.
I wouldn't say that this would be something you buy at like Lowe's or Home Depot. This is something that you'd call a professional company to install it for you. And then you call us when there's something wrong, because we don't want you guys opening the box because that could be problematic, and it's like you don't really like, it's actually happening right now with BMW, Mercedes, and Volkswagen, where they're making the vehicle so difficult to even do an oil change. Like you have to have a computer log in, you have to, then that loosens the oil cap, so you can open it and drain the oil. So we want to have those procedures so that we're doing it safely, we're doing it properly, and we're not allowing people to hurt themselves with something they don't really understand. Because honestly, this is like leading edge level technology, right?
Yes, it is. It is. So that's terrific. Now, one of our centerpieces of this technology is nuclear waste remediation. We've talked a little bit about it before. This is an ask to go one layer deeper, peel that onion back one layer deeper. How can you share a little bit more about the practicality in applying this? And I know we're going to be talking about us getting into industry here in the next part of this segment, but let's go into the technology piece, the science behind it a little bit before we get into that next piece with the application. So tell me a little bit more about that extra layer deeper than we haven't revealed before.
So now, just to be clear, you're asking me to talk about like the science behind the radioactive waste, or are you talking about the mechanism that does it?
Well, they're kind of one and the same.
Yeah, that's why I want to
so it's not a
differentiate.
trick question. I'm not letting them get away with it. So no, it's actually good that we're kind of clarifying this, because in the past, some of the doubters have had some insistence that we're not showing enough to produce. And even though we are showing every piece of evidence on our screen, it's authentic, even though we have all the validated test results that we can share, it still feels a little bit like that's not enough. Show me more. So can we tell something additionally that would say an application of this might be down, and we have talked and referenced, like, for example, the Hanford nuclear facility.
Sure.
But there's others. And I mean, there's other places we can go. There's other sites, there's other types. So tell me a little bit more about where can we see this applied. Maybe that would be a good starting point.
So we can see this technology in three different ways. We can see it as a skid, which is a small unit that's in a box that you apply to, say, a lab. So let's say you're a research lab and you happen to have some radioactive waste that's small concentrations, but you don't know how to get rid of it. You can use our small skid unit and plop it in, and we'll pour the water in, and we'll treat your low-grade nuclear waste, and we'll turn it into iron and cobalt and all these other things through transmutation, EPT. And then there's a third way we can actually build an intermole container, right, which you can basically deploy a safe nuclear radioactive waste remediation. You can just do a fitting, connect to the intermole container, and it will go to a wet storage region, and we'll just pump the water through and treat your poisoned water.
Your slurry. This is kind of the thing that you can get and apply. That would be the more in their tank solution, right? Versus the buried solution.
So if you do buried solution, it's kind of like this sediment right here. Like this is basically, if you were to pull up the slurry of like at Hanford, you get this goop down here. It's kind of like it's kind of thick, right? It's got a lot of goop in it.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to dilute that goop first with other water, and then it would become more of like kind of like the top layer here where there's a smaller sedimentation.
Right.
We'd have to use it for this. We have to treat this. We can't treat that big sludgy stuff. We'd have to put water in it to get it to go through the reactor.
Okay. Does
Right.
this infer then that the stuff that's buried already is more like this, that would require an additional
Yes.
process step?
Yeah, the stuff that's buried in the and here's what's going on. Actually, I used to know a machinist that made the stainless steel barrels for those Hanford containers,
Uh-huh.
and it's been 50 years now, and they're falling apart because of the neutron flux that's destroying the stainless steel, and now they're leaking.
Wait a minute. You mean hot fusion is innately destructive?
Well, the hot fusion and fission material, because of the fast neutrons, it causes neutron bombardment of this on the stainless or the reactors, right, that destroy the reactor walls. Fast neutrons from radioactive sludge destroys everything, including biology.
Right. Right.
So
Danger. That's why you have a symbol on that stuff. Whenever it's moved, whenever it's stored and all that, it is bad stuff. Okay, so do you feel like we've kind of covered a little bit about that now?
yeah, I mean, we could go further and talk about scaling it up from an intermodal to an actual bolted unit, but I mean,
Yeah, we're going to get into that into the next unit, but
Okay.
suffice it to say, we're not done on that topic. We are excited about that possibility. We've also discussed some of the cancer treatment potential. Now, this is in the medical field. We are just broaching this right now as a company right now, and I think that we've got a potential. We can't get into any of these details, but boy, do we have some potential that's coming up right now, as a matter of fact. And we are excited about that possibility. It's one thing when you can get into the nuclear side of it from this production we're talking about, or transportation, these kinds of things. But something like this is really, really engaging because we are talking about people and the things that this technology can do for the advancement of medicine in healing, treatment, and even remediation of cancer. So tell me a little bit more about that side of things.
Yeah, so just to go back to we talked about the sludge that has the fast neutrons on it that destroys the stainless steel tanks. In our process with the arc reactor, what we do is we do slow, cold neutron flux, which is 180 degrees different than fission and hot fusion. So when you figure out this cold neutron flux, what we've discovered is that we can use the sedimentation that is built up from the fusion process to do very amazing things with cancer treatment research. And we're just barely scratching the surface of what is possible with this. And we're super thrilled to partner with industry to really dive deeper into this. I can tell you, I'll give you a little hint. When we did a deuterium oxide experiment with the Department of Energy back in 2021, we poured deuterium oxide 99% D2O, which is toxic. If you drink it, you get sick. We poured it into the quantum kinetic fuser, which by the way, we're going to get the trademark on that too. So everything's, by the way, I'm going to just digress. We're getting awesome support from the government, and we're happy about it. But anyway, back to the material from the D2O. The D2O, after 24 hours of treatment at low power, like the lowest power, 30 volts, we fabricated non-filterable organic material. What that means, ladies and gentlemen, is that we took inorganic, neutron-dense water and grew organic matter. Now, we don't know what that organic matter is yet. We have theories about it, but we don't know exactly what it is yet. But we will find out. And when we do, we're probably going to tell you.
Well, it depends on what our initial foray into this as a financial and medical possibility looks like, too. This may go kind of quiet initially for a bit, especially if we prove a few things out in our initial test runs. So,
well, the DOE, you know what they think that organic matter is? They think it's plankton.
but plankton coming from inorganic material is creation of life. What?
Well,
Right?
here's another thing that we found out too. There's a fluorescence that happens as well to the D2O afterwards. Like the water starts to glow, and this is what the DOE officer said. And by the way, this person is like an expert in organic like oceanography, right? He said these data points, which are statistically significant, said it looks like there is a full carbon cycle in your reactor within 24 hours. That's what he said.
And this is caused by electrophysical transmutation, correct?
Correct. A cold neutron flux, the opposite of that radioactive sludge that industry is using. Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is and before you lose yourself there on that transition from inorganic to organic, we still have work to do on that. Let's wait and see what science says before the skeptics throw darts at us on that one.
Well, the data, this is again, we spent a lot of money on this data and we did it right and we're doing it right. And the thing about being a great scientist or even a good scientist, the number one, good observation. Did you follow protocol? We followed protocol. Did you get your lab data in properly? Did we use the best equipment? Yes, check. Okay, what did the data say? Well, it said there's organic matter. Well, is there something wrong with it? They thought, the DOE, when they ran the numbers the first time, they emailed us and said, look, you grew organic matter in 24 hours by 1,500%. We're going to rerun the numbers.
So wait, 1,500% from zero, though.
From
correct?
zero.
So that's a scale that starts with nothing. So
yes.
1,500 is comparable.
Basically, it's
what?
infinity. In mathematic terms, if you go from 0 to 1, it's technically infinity. Technically, because it wasn't there before.
And now it is. It's a binary, really. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on or off.
Yeah.
Like a transistor, it's on or off. We grew it by 1,500% of whatever they had baseline. They ran the numbers twice because they didn't believe they thought the instrument would contaminate or something, like the spectrometer or whatever they were using, a fluorescent thing they were using. But it came back exactly the same number. So what that tells you, ladies and gentlemen, is that just because your brain doesn't accept it doesn't mean it's not actually happening.
Well, this is the same with a lot of discoveries that made a leap, and people at first, you get burned as a witch if you start doing some of this stuff, and the modern day version of that is we'll steal your patents and deny you any notice for your success. But in this case, this is something that we're very excited about as well. We're going to kind of move on from this, but I do want to point out we will be getting some results, and what we're able to share, we will when that time comes. I would love it to be a really big announcement in partnership with, someone, and we'll get to that. Okay, yeah. But let's move on. So another thing that we talk about in our topics, and that we really wanted to dive a little bit further into, is CO2 sequestration, and we have said a few things about our capability there. So first of all, some people may not know exactly what that term means. Break it down a little bit simpler. Tell us what we know, that CO2 is carbon dioxide. That's most people would understand elementary level, but take us through what that sequestration starts to do with our technology.
So carbon sequestration is when you take the CO2 that's in the air and you pull it in with a fan with positive pressure or negative pressure, you suck it in, and you put it through some type of catalyst reaction that's really hot or really expensive electrolysis to the air. And then what happens is the carbon sticks to the electrodes, and then it binds to the electrode and it makes this black dust. Now it takes a huge amount of energy to make the fans suck the air in. It takes a huge amount of energy to do the electrolysis for the sequestration. And so the amount of CO2 that you actually remediate from the air is not as much that you put into the atmosphere with your power.
So you're trying very hard, but it's a losing proposition. So I remember
Yeah.
about a year ago, we were at the National Lab, and one of the things that we found on our electrodes was carbon.
Carbon
And
at
so,
room
take us through a little
temperature.
bit about the differentiator that we have in sequestration, because we're not spending the amount of power that it takes, no different than what we've been doing with everything else we're doing.
Mhm.
Yet here we are, and we've got results that we're showing. Everyone can go look. We're keep them posted, and they're always available to go check our work.
Mhm.
Yet here we are having carbon for talk us through our CO2 sequestration and how that carbon got there.
Yeah, so we did an experiment with the Quantum Kinetic Fuser, which is right here, and we poured basically distilled water inside this reactor, and we pressurized it and capped it off with a very tiny relief valve on top of it, just so that the pressure didn't build up and then pop.
Mhm.
And then we fed straight CO2 gas into the bottom of the reactor, and it bubbled up the 3 chambers. And we left it on for 24 hours. And it was at low power. We did see X-rays coming off the reactor, just like a nuclear fusion event.
Right.
And we left it on. And when we came back and we turned everything off and we pulled the electrodes out, what we found was the electrodes were coated in a black, kind of a grayish film. And that is carbon. That was a carbon soot
Mm-hmm.
from CO2 gas being pumped in there. Now, we haven't done any actual lab, like official partnered lab studies on sequestration here at Quantum Kinetics, but we know for a fact that every single time we turn it on, we grow lots of sediment that is carbon based. We find organic carbon in the reactors too, and we find inorganic carbon in the reactors too that wasn't there before. Matter of fact, we've even sliced the electrodes in half and took analysis and electron microscope of like the layers of the electrodes, like from the outside to the middle to the inside. We found that the outside edges of the electrode has more carbon. So the electrode itself is actually trying to transmutate too into some type of black carbon iron oxide thing.
So a cross-section analysis showed, and we would expect this on the we would expect that on the exterior because that's exposed. Tell us a little bit more about how something like that could get inside, and is this a part of transmutation shifting of that part could be a deeper discussion, because
we should go
you're also finding if electrodes decompose, aren't we being destructive ourselves? Should we be fair in asking that?
So, man, that's awesome, because there's a certain point in the universe where you reach decomposition. Like if you take a log and you burn it, it gets black, right? But it won't really go any further than that. It's black. The same thing happens to stainless steel when it gets really, really, really hot. Like it will transmutate and get black. But here's the thing. We're doing what basically high temperature steel manufacturers do to stainless steel at room temperature, because it is hot in there. You can't see it. You can't feel it because it's X-rays, but it is really a thermonuclear flame that is actually propagating out of the reactor. It's the way I say it, and try to tell people that ask me like, well, what do you do for a living? You know, it's like, well, think of it like this. I'm like that monkey that took the wood and I made the first fire, and you're another monkey and you saw me make a fire and you're like, what is that?
Oh no, I'm the other competitor. I'm going to come over there with my club and take it from you.
You mean like Obadiah Stane? Okay, here we go.
Oh no, man, don't go there. Anyway, so this is good. So
funny.
Thank you for the comparison, because in that cross section there was some changes, and we showed those, by the way, on our site. Take a look at some of the pictures from that.
We'll actually put them in this video.
Put them in this link to this video. Fantastic, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, and then biological stimulation was kind of the last piece that we were thinking about in this. We've talked a little about it with the carbon. and a little bit about this generation of inorganic to organic. Is there anything else on that side that we can touch about on this biological side?
Yeah. Someone asked me via text message. They said, "Hey, you say on your podcast, and sometimes you say, outside, fusion is love and love is fusion. Can you expand on that? Like, what are you talking about?" And I'll say this because this is just to answer the question. That when the universe does a creational event, and let's just actually back up one more step. A physicist will tell you, if you walk into their classroom, they'll say, nothing can be created or destroyed, only energy transferred. And then in the next breath, they will say, there was this magical moment called the Big Bang, and everything was created in one magical moment, and it's expanding. And your brain goes, did I just get gaslit? Because that doesn't make any sense at all. How come nothing can be created or destroyed, and then at the same time you say there was this magical moment that everything was created? It's very analogous to, did the chicken come first or did the egg come first, right? It's a paradox.
Well, and for me, you already know my feeling on it. I think it's a creation, and I think there's an intelligent force that might have actually participated to make that happen.
And your intuition is 100% correct, because here's the thing. The answer to the question is it's not the egg and it's not the chicken. It's called a progenitor. What happens is, in the universe, there is a thing, it's very small, and it makes a decision, it makes a decision, it's going to make a thought. It's going to grow. It's going to create. When, like Nietzsche said, I think, therefore I am. His statement is more true than you could possibly imagine. Because in this reactor, we set up a very special condition, where we allow the male and the female to come together to unite to create a baby.
Okay, so take us through component of male and component of female in that example, because you're going to get asked that question.
Very good. And you're asking that right now because you want to know.
Yes, everybody wants to know.
So there's a thing, and I don't want to go too far into that because it might give away too much, but there's a cathode, which is an emitter of electrons, male. Mm-hmm. There's an anode, that is a female, that absorbs electrons. It's a taker. Mm-hmm. And when they both come together in a very special way with a magnetic field, electrostatic field, dynamic resistance, the whole physical fusion thing, it will create, it makes the universe says, hey, there is a progenitor here. I'm going to expand the universe here.
Interesting, because we said at the beginning of this, it's like something is there that becomes a thought. It's like, therefore, it must be like a file. So it has some information. Something would need to happen to get that into a greater expansion of simply existing as information, correct?
Exactly. It's like what we talked about before. If it's on, it's a 1. If it's off, it's a 0. But if you turn it on and turn it off super quick, like a quantum computer does, a state of superposition, it doesn't know what it is. It can be anything. It can go here. It can go there in an instant. Back in 1890, there was a guy by the name of Oliver Heaviside. He was the guy that figured out the telegraph equation and got it fixed for the academic community. He wrote and talked about that he was totally okay with this thing going faster than the speed of light, and he thought it was a thought. He thought it was a thought, and he said, you know what? It's totally okay that it would be, he called it hyperspace.
We call it warp drive.
And that, again, we could have a whole podcast on just that.
We'll not do that in this episode. We'll get going on the rest of this, but it's a great place marker. Okay,
It
so
is.
let's kind of bookmark this for another spot.
Well, probably let's ask the audience in a
Survey.
survey if they want to go down that rabbit hole, because again, it's not something that we want to do because we don't have enough scientific data on it. But if you want to be like a explorer of the thoughts,
Yeah,
sure.
a little bit more philosophical, but still, let's stay in our lane for this one and get through, because we've got next.
Mhm.
We're going to transition, and I mentioned earlier in the segment here that we were going to get into this now, and this is, how soon can we have cold fusion to market? What will it look like? What will it cost? How do we get it? And what kind of time does it take to get there? So we've taken some time and done some great study. We've had it independently verified, actually, by a couple of other places that our estimates are pretty solid, based on our technology and the ability to scale the materials, the timing, and the stuff that lights up a program manager like me. So let's go into a little bit of the small, medium, and larger scale projects and what it looks like based on the numbers that we extrapolated from the data that was available to us. And man, let's get some people excited by some of the possibilities here.
Yeah. So if you want to do a large scale energy generation plant, it's in the vicinity of basically the same as the industry standard hot fusion. Actually, we're coming in a little bit lower than their numbers because our technology doesn't use superconducting magnets. It doesn't use expensive stellarators. It doesn't use like exotic materials. It's basically just, magnet wire, electrodes, and whatnot. So essentially what I'm trying to say is that I don't really want to talk about the numbers publicly because it's proprietary for our investors that come forward. And all I can tell you is this. And I'm sorry, Randall, to take the flame out of your kite there, but essentially is we've got a cheaper deployment, we have a faster deployment, and we have actual nuclear fusion for every single industry.
Using safe nuclear energy systems.
Arc reactor fusion on demand.
Right on.
Yes.
Boom. Yes. So let's go into, we're kind of heading to wrap now. So let's do a couple of things. Got some episodes coming up.
Yes,
do you want to give a little heads up on what's coming?
Yes, we actually have a very special guest next week coming on our show. His name is Jason McCoy. He's actually an investor of Quantum Kinetics. He's a musician, artist, patent writer, and he's going to be talking with us about frequencies. And he has this product called Numbered Notes. And he has this new revolutionary way, thinking outside the box, of how to create and make music with a very special language, which is numbers. And we're going to be talking with him about his patent, his approach, and how resonant frequencies of music are exactly like a tuned arc reactor functioning for nuclear fusion.
Interesting. So nuclear music, perhaps, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out a little bit more as we go along. So we got one other thing, and we've been very excited by this. And do you want to tell us about something that you can, as much as you know that we can share right now, about something, a big major announcement coming for Quantum Kinetics? Can you share us a little bit?
Yeah, so we have a really special thing. I don't want to say what it is. It will be launching on June 28th, 2025, which is what? Basically what? 16
2.5
days?
weeks out, yeah.
Yeah, two. And so essentially, we don't really want to say what it is, but we want to tell you.
Well, it's a surprise, but
it's a surprise.
It's worth waiting for. You have to take a little bit of faith when we say that. And as we get closer, our next episode, at the end of that, you can actually spill the beans, because that'll be just a couple days before that, right?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. It's so tough, Randall, because you want to be totally understanding of the people you're working with, you know, but you're so excited to share. So there's really a tough, line to walk here.
All right. Suffice it to say, when we can tell you, you will find out. Okay.
But I will say this: it's major.
Oh, it's a big one. We've been waiting for something like this for some time. We're very excited, genuinely so.
Yeah.
All right, so let's put a bow on this. Thanks for watching, everybody. Really, this has been a journey that you get to watch day by day as we see our competitors starting to mimic and imitate us. And what do we say about imitation? What is that?
What is it? The highest form of flattery?
Exactly. And so as we start looking around and we see some of the filings, some of the examples of what either in marketing or in science
Posting.
that we see going
Posting.
on, oh boy, you want validity that you're doing the right thing. Quantum kinetics is on the right track when the bigs are starting to look more like us.
Yeah, it's like we said in the last episode, it's a major compliment, and we're super thrilled because we know we're doing the right thing by letting everyone know. And you need to let your friends know that this is happening because this is a historic chapter in history for humanity. This is really happening. I know, again, I said in the last one, it's a very hard pill to swallow, but this is it. This is your technology that is going to make your world better. It's going to make your health better. It's going to make your planet better. It's going to make your spirit energy better, and it's going to make you happier. And we won't have to do these tariffs. We won't have to do, because the universe wants to give you everything. She really does. And when you figure out how to make her do the right stuff, she just gives it to you. No tariffs included. Just there you go.
Well, without all that, just suffice it to say, we're positioned well. We're ready to go. We are looking forward to seeing who wants to come on board with us on this too. So just be thinking about that. And we have our links up. We have our like, share, and everything else that subscribe. And we want everybody to get on board with this. This has genuinely become a movement. What's our current YouTube count now?
Well, we got 1,200 new subscribers in one day. Yesterday, and then we have currently a total of about 163,000 subscribers.
That was 100 back in October.
It was 93 back in September.
Wow. So is this a movement?
Yeah.
I think the evidence speaks for itself, and I'd say now's the time. Get on board. Let's do this. Right on?
Right on. Let's go, buddy. Episode 4 is going to be Jason McCoy. We're super happy to have him on, and you guys should totally tune in for that one because it's going to be epic. We're going to play music. We're going to talk about resonance, and we're going to talk about how nuclear fusion is harmonic resonant octaves.
That is going to be something. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. See you next time.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.